Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Bleu. Today's episode is all about production and speed. Yesterday we talked about how accuracy and audits play a part in medical coding, but so does your production and your speed. Do you have to have this as a medical coder? Do you have to have speed? Okay, let's go ahead and break this down. When it comes to production, every facility is different. This is why when you're interviewing, that's one of the questions that you can ask is about what is the production standards like. Because I'm on the outpatient side, and I'll use myself as an example because I have seen facilities range from 12 per hour to 22 per hour, okay? Now this is on average, okay? These are average rates. Usually what they'll do is they'll take a block of time and they'll take all the time that you spent not coding and all the time you spent coding, and they'll add it up and they'll average out how much you produce per hour to see if you're meeting production standards, okay? Now, is it hard to hit production standards when you're doing 22 per hour? Yes. That was extremely stressful when I had to do it, but the clinic was a lot easier, okay? Sometimes the different levels of production are going to be based on how hard the clinic is, okay? So if it is a tougher clinic, if it is a more detailed clinic, you're gonna see a lower production standard per hour, okay? I currently sit with 12 per hour on average that I have to do, okay? For me, this is easy most times to hit per hour because 12 per hour, that makes it at least 5 minutes with the record that I can spend, okay? Now, how do you get this fast? After a while, when you are working and you're learning and you're starting to understand the clinic and you're starting to understand your provider's documentation better, you are able to pick up speed, okay? The things that will impact your time is if you're being distracted, if you are on your phone. Now, I have seen so many people at work do this. They're on their phones. Then they complain that they can't meet production standards. Okay, you can't meet production standards because you're busy checking your phone and looking at, the internet or whatever you got going, or text messaging, or literally being on the phone, okay? This was an issue that I had with a former partner of mine. We shared an office, and she was constantly on her phone. Now, this isn't me calling her out. She was literally on her phone. She would call and talk to her family all day, and while it is very distracting, she couldn't meet production standards because of it. When I'm at work, I put my phone away. My phone is never on my desk. It is always in my purse, hanging up, okay? Because it's very important to me that I am able to meet production standards. Now, part of what I do as a medical coder, and this is just me, myself, okay? I'm a little unusual when it comes to this. A lot of people will come to me with questions. I have an open door policy that I let all of my providers know. I even let other coders know that I am always available for questions. I will never refuse anybody's question at work, okay? Because whatever time I spend with them talking about whatever question they have or helping them to understand whatever, I can always make up the time later, okay, with producing whatever amount of records that I need to. So production standards, going back to that, for me is 12 per hour with an average of 90 per day, okay? That is a minimum that I need to be at least 90 per day. Now, there are some days that I cannot hit that. Some days I hit 65 and I cannot go any higher than that because the complexity of the chart, or I have been called away to do a lot of different things. But if I'm taking that time out, and if I'm literally just concentrating, and just say for example that I am just concentrating and I still can only do 65 in a day, okay, which has happened before. Some of these providers, their records get very detailed, and since I am a detailed person, I got to make sure that all the stuff gets picked up, okay? Nothing gets left behind if I can help it, okay? That is the whole goal for me with my providers, because I take care of them. I watch their back, and I make sure that they get all the credit that they're deserving of, okay? So on these days when I'm a little bit slower, it's fine because I may not make it that day, but the next day I may be able to hit my quota of 90 per day, okay, or 12 per hour. And then there are days when I'm hitting a good speed and I can hit 150. So guess what happens to that one day that I had 65 that I did? It means nothing now, because if you average it out, I've more than made up for that day, plus then some, okay? My average now is always exceeding the standard. So I'm not really worried when it comes to production standards now for me, because I can still, even if I was asked to do 15 per hour, I could still, and that would average out to like 120. I would still be able to hit my production standards, okay? So the biggest threats to production is, like I said, talking on the phone or talking with your coworkers or having a coworker bother you and things like that. So there are a lot of things that factor into that. So you have to be able to take responsibility for yourself. And if you're not meeting production standards or you feel like you're going too slow, look at what's going on in your environment. Are you in a environment that's going to foster that production, okay? Some facilities you can be in a large room with a bunch of other coders and you can't talk. I used to be in a big room, but we didn't have that. And while it's good, it can also be bad, okay? It's good because if the people know how to respect other people and be quiet during certain times, then it's okay. However, that was not the case a lot of times where I worked when I was working in this little tin can, okay? So a lot of times I had to put my headphones in, okay? And you have to make it to where you can concentrate, because looking at records all day long, you will start to pick up speed because you know where to look and you know what you're looking for. And particularly if you are working with your provider and they are working with you, then you're able to really get into a good groove, okay? So that's a way of not really having to worry or putting that production standard worry to bed, okay? The other thing is when you are a brand new coder and you are starting out, I have never seen a facility not allow a ramp up period, okay? So when you start out at your new job and this is your first job as a medical coder, they say, okay, we're going to give you 90 days for you to ramp up, okay? Some people may say it's 30 days, okay? We're going to give you 30 days to ramp up. So during this time, you're learning the systems that you're going to be working with. You're going to be learning and feeling those little those little speed bumps when you're working and you're looking at documentation and you're learning from your mistakes during this time. This is the best time to learn all that stuff when you're in the ramp up period, okay? Because once you're out of that ramp up period, they're going to expect you to be able to maintain a certain amount of production per day. It is entirely possible to meet these production standards, granted that they are within reason, okay? If you are working in a very easy clinic and they say you have to do 22 per hour and it is a very easy, straightforward clinic and every encounter is nearly the same, then it's fine. If you are working in a specialty clinic, however, like orthopedics or podiatry or pediatrics, those are going to take a little bit more time because now you really got to start digging and looking into stuff, okay? And then the coding is a lot different because there's a different set of rules for every specialty, okay? Not to mention special rules that your facility has. You know, your facility may have special rules for coding different things. So just be sure to make sure that you understand those, okay? But yes, production standards and speed, you will be able to pick it up after a while. So if you're brand new, don't let it get to you. Don't get nervous right away with that, okay? The speed will come as long as you are diligently working, because some records are going to take a lot longer to look at than others. Now, I say like the average is 12 per hour for me. So it's 5 minutes to look at a record. For me, that's plenty of time. I can look and see and make sure that the note is done on the proper day, okay? And if not, that the provider has the information in there, okay, on what date of service this patient was seen. And complete HPI, review of systems, physical exam, their past social family history if this is a new patient, and then, their AP, what they plan to do with this patient. Or if they were reading a x-ray, did they note in there what they reviewed on the x-ray? Are they doing their own personal interpretation? Okay. All of these things get looked at, and you'll start to do a pattern of how you look at records. For me, I always start with the AP. I start with the AP. Anytime I'm looking at a record, doesn't matter. In any encounter that I look at, I always start with the AP. Why? That's going to tell me what their plan is, what's going on with this patient, and what they are going to do. So I look at all of this, right? Then I go to the top and I look to see, does the HPI talk about what's going on? Is there anything else that I need to know in this HPI? Then I look at their past family social history. I look at the review of systems to make sure everything is there. And I look at the physical exam and I count up to make sure that everything's there as well. Those are on initial patients. I do it on established patients as well. But obviously, I don't have to go through all of that with the past family social history on an established patient. But that is the pattern of how I go through a record. I always look at the AP first. Always. And now I don't just start coding from the AP and that's it. No. I look at the AP so that I can see what's happening. I know how detailed this has to be, okay? Then I look at history, review systems, physical exam, x-rays, review radiology, anything like that. And then I go and everything gets reconciled with that AP. And that's something that I've learned over time. I used to start at the history and then work my way down. But then by the time I get all the way down to the AP or the plan, right, the assessment and plan, I've already forgotten what's going on in the history, okay? So this is why I always start at the bottom. AP first, I look at that first. And then I look to see everything is there. And if there's any holes that are missing from point D to point A, then that's when, okay, I can say, do I need to query? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Okay? It's all about learning those tricks and how you're looking at things, okay? And once you get your providers going, like using templates like this, they should. Templates are very good, but they can also be bad. So they have to watch very carefully. When a provider is using templates, the note, the structure of the note is going to look the same. So you know where to look for things, okay? You know where the review systems, you know where to find their past family social history, you know where to find their physical exam, you know where to find the HPI, you know where all of this stuff is, okay? Because you understand the flow of the note, okay? Even if they don't use templates and they're freehanding it or whatever, you'll start to learn the provider's habits after a while. And this is why I always reiterate, working with your providers if their documentation needs improvement, okay? And for you new coders, it's okay. It's okay to not be sure how they should be doing it. But once you really start to dig, and once you start to look at this information and really start ciphering out all these things that you need, then you'll start to know where to look for these certain things in this documentation. So that's just a little trick from me to you. I totally didn't even think about talking about that either. But getting back to speed, that will help you, okay? Just sort of reviewing and making sure that you're looking at those things with your provider. And then after a while, when you have time and when you feel comfortable, when the provider gets to know you and is comfortable with you, then that's when you two need to sit down and talk to each other and say, I noticed this about your documentation, or I noticed that, when you are seeing a new patient, you're not meeting this certain level of bullets in order to meet a more appropriate code. Okay, this is when you can talk to them about that. Those are things that are very important, because accuracy and then production and speed, they go together. For me, I would rather a coder take their time to get it right and make it up on an easier bunch of charts later on than to try to hurry up through a complex chart and get it wrong. Okay? Because again, when you are coding these records, the patient is responsible for all of the procedures that you select, the level that you select. So if you're selecting wrong procedures, wrong level, wrong diagnosis codes, this can have a potential financial impact on that patient. Not only that, a financial impact on your provider and the facility. So this is why I tell everybody to read, to pay attention to what you're doing, to go through it very carefully. If it takes you an hour to finish a record, it's going to take you an hour. Then that means you got to try to double up later on. And you'll know after a while, easier providers to get through, easier documentation to get through. Don't concentrate only on the easy stuff, okay? That I've seen so many freaking times. That makes me mad. When I see coders that they say, oh, I have all of these clinics, but I'm going to work on this easy stuff because I can meet my production standards and I don't have to worry about the hard stuff. No, ma'am. I always say that all the time when I hear it. No, ma'am. Because a provider may seem hard, but it's only going to continue to stay hard and not be able to be, you can't really go through it quicker if you don't spend time working on it. This is why I tell them, you got to spend time still working on them. You know, that's very, very important. In order to get used to anything and get better with anything, you have to spend time with it, right? Same thing with building relationships with your providers. You can't be scared of them. You have to spend time with them, okay? You have to make yourself available for whenever they need you to, okay? Whenever they have time, because they're very busy. Sometimes you just have to sort of work yourself in and make sure they see you, okay? Because so many times I've seen where coders say that they're afraid, they don't want to talk to providers. But you know, if you would just talk to them, it would so help your production. Because then they know what you need to see. They know what you know what they're trying to convey on paper. Because if they're telling you what they're trying to convey on paper and it's not coming out on paper, then you can work with them to get it on paper. And then again, your production standards is going to go up because now you know where in the encounter to look, you know where it's going to be, or if they have a particular day that they're going to do like a shots clinic or something, then, you know, or injections clinic, shots, injections clinic, then you'd be able to know those things, okay? Same thing when they have days where maybe they're doing pre-op encounters, they're seeing a whole bunch of patients because they're going to be doing operations pretty soon. Then you know that day is going to be all your pre-op encounters, okay? You're going to know that they're not going to be looking to do all these other things, okay? So just another another thought. A lot of things go hand in hand, and all these detail things, I'm hoping that I'm passing them on to you guys in a way that's going to be helpful for you, okay? This is 10 years of learning experience, okay? Trial and error. And I'm still going through it. I'm still going through it with some of these providers because some of them, it's like they get on board, they start working, and I've talked about this before where all of a sudden my production will hit a halt because a provider changed the way they document it. And you may have heard me say this before on other videos. They changed the way they document it because now I've got to learn what did they do? Why are they changing how they're documenting? Because once they get in a good groove, they should not change, okay? The only thing that should change is that they perhaps get more detailed, all right? But they should never change the structure of their charting if if it works, okay? If it's convenient for them, it's convenient for you, and everything's working out, and you're able to capture all of that information quickly, then it's good. But don't worry. You'll have time to get, where you're producing, and your speed will come in time. Okay, so don't expect to think that you're going to get in there and oh my gosh, now I got to do all these charts. Just relax, do it correctly, do it accurately, and then make sure that you just continue to get better, because your reading speed will get a lot faster. Okay, trust me, because I used to be a very slow reader. I love to read, but I would read slow, and then after a while I started to learn to read faster. And that's another thing. There's also speed reading books out there that you can look at. Speed reading is really good because you can sort of look at a document and just sort of scan it real quick. After a while, your brain will start to pick up on things. But this is why I always read the last part of it first. And that's what helps me to know what I'm looking for. Okay, so just some thoughts from me to you. And always remember to keep your environment as productive friendly as possible. Put your phones away. Please, please, for the love of Mike, put your phones away. Concentrate on what you're doing. If somebody is bothering you, or like you have a coworker that says, hey girl, hey, do you know what happened? So last night my husband, oh, no. I'm working. And yes, while it may seem like, oh, I don't want to be cold and I want to make friends, you do. But then at the same time, if you are confident, if you're not confident yet in your production and your speed time, you need to concentrate on that first, and then worry about the friendships and all this other stuff later. Okay, you don't have to be rude, but you just can tell them, hey, I'm new and my production is really low right now because I'm just still learning this stuff. So let's talk at lunchtime. Okay, or hey, let's go grab a drink after work. You want to grab a drink after work? That sounds even better. I mean, to me that would work out better. So, but you will have that, because sometimes it's just like, I have to. No, but wait, Blue, you can listen. But and then after a while, I learned, got to put my foot down. Okay, because they'll take your time. Unfortunately, some coworkers will take your time if you let them. Okay, so that's my video for today. But I was so glad to get that that question from a viewer, because she was asking, is this a do I have to have speed? The speed will come after a while. And I told her this, speed will come after a while, but you have to make it production friendly. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, but I will be back tomorrow, and I will be posting answers for Answer Monday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, because I'm going to go ahead and pre-record because of all the running around for Monday. So I'm going to go ahead and post it early on Monday. So if you guys are subscribed already and you have that fancy little bell that tells you, hey, Medical Coding with Bleu posted another episode, that way it's going to go off around that time. Now, for the 60% of you that are not subscribed yet, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I hope to have another 20 new subscribers before 2020. That's a nice goal to have, right? It is just in a couple of days, like literally a few days. Like we're just staring at 2020. Oh my gosh. It's going to be 2020. Can you believe it already? Anyway, I will go ahead and wrap this one up. But please like and subscribe. And if this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. All right, I will see y'all on the next video. Bye.